Okay, let's unpack this. Think about the last time you were in an airport. Just standing around those massive sprawling terminals.
Right.
You have that whole sensory experience, don't you? The sort of metallic smell, the polished floors, and just above all, the
Oh,
noise.
the noise. It's a dense tapestry of sound.
Yeah.
It really is. The muffled friction of people, the rolling bags, and then that sudden piercing chime of a gate announcement.
It's basically stress, but, turned into sound.
It is, and we just accept it as part of modern travel, but that sound environment, that constant din, is so psychologically demanding. It's this weird battlefield where anxiety and, like, total boredom are just duking it out.
And when you're stuck there waiting, how do you handle that? I mean, do you just try to filter it out with noise-canceling headphones?
Or listen to music to distract yourself.
Exactly. Or do you find yourself just completely overwhelmed? This deep dive is all about the artists who've tried to either master or maybe just surrender to that exact chaotic soundscape.
And we've got two huge musical projects, separated by nearly 50 years, that both tackle the airport terminal. But, and this is the key, they offer perfectly antagonistic solutions to the problem.
So our mission today is to take the ultimate shortcut to getting smart on this. We're going to define the core contrast, the foundational work designed to diffuse the chaos versus a really modern response that's designed to accept and even embellish it.
We are putting Brian Eno's pivotal 1978 work, Music for Airports, in conversation with IdioT-SaVant's really challenging 2023 response, Ambient Antithesis,
Yeah.
Airports for Music.
Linked by location, but totally divided by their entire approach to noise. This is where it gets so fascinating. Let's start with the one that set the standard back in the late 70s.
Let's do it.
So Brian Eno's Music for Airports, it wasn't just an album, right? It was more like a conceptual statement.
Completely. It wasn't meant to be actively listened to. It was meant to be an oral texture and atmosphere.
Mhm.
And in 1978, you have to remember, this idea of music as like functional background design was totally radical.
Why, though? What was the specific problem he was trying to solve?
It was revolutionary because it was directly addressing a psychological need in a public space.
Hmm.
There's this legendary story of Eno being stuck and frustrated at Cologne Bonn Airport.
Mm-hmm.
And he just realized how the harsh, intrusive sounds were amplifying his anxiety about his flight being delayed. He decided the answer wasn't to soundproof the place, but to create a system to override the psychological effect of all that noise.
So he wasn't just making, relaxing songs. He was designing a tool.
An explicit one. The intent was to diffuse the anxious atmosphere.
Yeah.
Air travel back then felt a lot more uncertain than it does today. There was this genuine kind of visceral fear that was just baked into the terminal experience.
And how do you fight that feeling with sound?
You introduce extreme predictability, sonic stability. The work was designed as a series of 4 short, very deliberate musical loops. Just a few instruments, simple piano, some synths, all constructed to be completely non-demanding on your attention.
So the loops weren't just repetitive. They were structured in a specific way to have that effect.
Precisely. Eno used a technique where the loops were of slightly different asynchronous lengths. So imagine one loop that's 7 seconds, another that's maybe 11 seconds.
Okay.
They're playing at the same time, but because they're cycling at different rates, they only line up perfectly once every few minutes. This stops the music from feeling monotonous, but it still maintains this deep sense of calm, underlying order.
Ah, that technical detail is the key. It's always shifting subtly, but never jarringly. It's like musical camouflage that's designed to override those spikes of anxiety.
Think about it. A dropped suitcase, a sudden announcement. Those sounds are loud, sharp, but brief.
Right.
Eno's loops provide this massive, deep, continuous mattress of sound that just dampens the effect of those spikes. It's basically saying, the chaos outside doesn't matter because I am here, constant and predictable. I'm your anchor.
So the original thesis from Eno is clear. Chaos is a malfunction, and music has to be the antidote. It has to be ordered and static to compensate for that stress.
And now we fast forward decades. The modern airport is still chaotic, but maybe the anxiety has shifted.
How so?
It's less about the fear of the flight itself and more about the sheer volume of information, the number of people, the digital noise. And this is the world that IdioT-SaVant is addressing with Ambient Antithesis, Airports for Music.
Just the title alone is a declaration of war on Eno's whole idea. If Eno wants to diffuse the sounds, what's the proposal here?
The conceptual shift is, it's radical.
Sure.
IdioT-SaVant does not see the airport soundscape, the chatter, the conveyors, the announcements, as noise to be replaced.
Okay, so what is it then?
The approach is to accept the sounds and chaos of the terminal as a dynamic, evolving environment that should be appreciated as it exists.
Wait, accept the chaos? That sounds risky. I mean, how do you go from this noise is stressing me out to I should appreciate this noise? Isn't that just going to amplify the stress?
That's the exact question the work forces us to ask. Appreciation here isn't about, romanticizing the delay announcement. It's a move toward critical neutrality.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
It's saying, this is the reality of the terminal. Fighting it is exhausting. So instead of trying to impose an artificial calm, like ENO's loop, let's build a musical framework that validates the real sound and invites you to stop struggling against it.
So it's almost a kind of meditative approach to reality, accepting what you can't change, but with a musical filter.
Exactly. It speaks to a very contemporary feeling, right? Information and noise saturation is just unavoidable. The artistic response isn't to build a soundproof bunker, but to find a way to coexist peacefully inside the storm.
By accepting the noise, the music lets you move from a state of frustration to one of observation.
The noise stops being a threat. It just becomes information.
That philosophical shift is profound. ENO is basically saying, don't worry, I will filter this out for you.
And IdioT-SaVant is saying, I will help you reframe your perception of what's already here. It changes the whole role of the music. It moves from being an overriding solution to an integrative commentary. The chaos isn't a bug, it's a feature.
Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this, because that philosophical difference has to translate into a totally different sound. If ENO uses asynchronous loops to override, what does IdioT-SaVant use to embellish?
This is where we see the execution of the antithesis. The music is described in the notes as a gentle, ambient musical cocoon.
A cocoon? The difference between a loop and a cocoon seems critical here.
It's everything. A loop is placed over the sound, a cocoon is woven around it.
So how do you build that cocoon technologically, especially when you're dealing with those harsh, sudden noises like a PA system?
The methods are pretty sophisticated. Instead of being a static texture like ENO's, the music is highly dynamic and reactive. There's evidence of using very deep, low-frequency bass tones and specific mid-range filters.
And those aren't designed to mask the announcements.
No, not at all. They're designed to blend the sharpness of those sounds into the overall atmosphere. Think of it like active audio blending.
So when a gate announcement spikes, the music doesn't get louder to cover it up it? What? It softens the edges of the speaker's voice.
Precisely. They're using techniques that suggest the ambient elements are often subtly sidechain compressed, keyed to the frequencies of human voices or those PA chimes.
Okay, break that down.
When the chaotic sound appears, the music dips just a little to let the information pass through clearly, but the overall texture smooths out the harsh edges of that sound. It takes the sharp, stressful peaks and just rounds them off, wrapping them in this soft, low-end warmth.
That means the music is designed to complement failure. It works best when the environment is at its noisiest and most stressful.
Yes. It's an interactive sonic experience, not a fixed one. The execution relies a lot on textural manipulation, using things like granular synthesis to create these tiny, shimmering layers of sound.
That adhere to the existing environment.
Right, they're meant to fill the gaps between the chaos rather than taking up the main sonic real estate. It's like musical spackling.
That's a powerful distinction. So for the listener, this means when you listen to ENO, you're trying to forget you're in an airport.
You're focusing on the calming musical structure. But when you engage with IdioT-SaVant, the music actively reminds you that you are in the airport.
Yeah.
But it offers a lens to see that experience as complex and interesting, not just irritating.
It shifts the experience from stress to immersion.
It does.
So for you, the learner, we have defined these two opposing schools of thought on environmental stress.
On one side, you've got ENO's functionalism, music as a necessary distraction, a diffuser, achieved with those continuous ordered loops designed to compensate for the emotional failings of the space.
And on the other, IdioT-SaVant's integration, music as a complement to reality and embellishment, achieved with that dynamic, reactive cocoon designed to help you reframe your perception.
It is just fascinating that two major projects focused on the same chaotic space can propose two perfectly opposite ways of relating to noise and anxiety. One is about overcoming reality.
And the other is about accepting it.
And that split filter versus integrate, it reflects much bigger debate in art and psychology today, about
Right.
how we handle information saturation and constant input.
Do we try to simplify the world down, or do we learn to thrive within its inherent complexity?
The airport stops being just a place you pass through. It becomes this critical stage for these radically different ideas about the modern sensory experience.
Right.
So just to quickly bring it all back home, we've gone from ENO's founding principle of diffusing anxiety with continuous loops all the way to IdioT-SaVant's modern directive of accepting and embellishing chaos with a gentle ambient cocoon.
The key takeaway really is that difference, the choice between sonic elimination and sonic integration. It's such a powerful intellectual tool.
And this has massive relevance for you, outside of just music. Think about how often in your daily life, when you're faced with a chaotic situation, a huge inbox, a crowded train, a tense meeting, you automatically reach for the ENO solution.
You try to drown out the noise, distract yourself, filter it.
That's our default psychological setting, absolutely,
Yeah.
seeking immediate control. But this antithesis encourages us to just pause and consider the alternative.
What if you chose to accept the environment as it is?
Exactly. What if, instead of fighting the noise, you mentally wrapped it in that cocoon of acceptance? What if you used your inner resources to change your perception of the sound rather than trying to physically change the sound itself?
Which is a far more sustainable strategy for handling stress since, let's be honest, we can rarely silence the world around us.
Which brings us to our final thought for you to explore on your own. We focus entirely on the airport, but
Yeah.
apply this framework somewhere else. What other stressful public environments, like a hectic train station, a busy food market, or a crowded city square during rush hour, could benefit from being reframed and cocooned using this antithetical approach?
If you start thinking of that noise not as an irritant to be eliminated, but as the raw material for appreciation, it might just change the way you move through your entire day.